Hello everyone, uh, welcome to CCCS121. So we are still on arrays and we'll continue with our revision of arrays this week, and near the end of the week, probably on Thursday, we'll move on to two-dimensional arrays. So this is the set of lecture slides that we're on right now. We're learning how to process arrays. Uh, we're done with most of this stuff, initializing arrays with input values. We did that last week. Initializing arrays with random values, printing arrays. We didn't do any exercise that showed us how to sum elements, but that's pretty easy given what you've already done. Finding the largest element, we did that, and finding the smallest index or the index of the largest element, we did that. So we'll look at random shuffling probably today in today's class, and shifting elements. We may or may not do that in class. So before move on with arrays, I just wanted to show you something else that's in the lecture slides, which I hope you've already gone through, which I uploaded last week. So there's this one particular slide that I want you to pay attention to. So what this basically shows is that when you have an array, let's say an array called mylist. Mylist is really just a reference to the entire portion in memory, which is actually physically storing all the array elements. So over here, for example, mylist is an array of 10 elements. As you can see, these 10 white boxes. Each of them is storing, in this case, a double variable, uh, and is referred to as so the first element is referred to as mylist0, second one referred to can be accessed as mylist1, and so on. But just the name of the array, mylist itself, this is called a reference, and it points to the start location in memory where this array is being stored. Now that has some importance for us because of this. So today we're going to look at how we can copy an array from one array into another. Now, if you think it is as simple as, let's say you have two arrays, one called list1 and the other one called list2, then copying list1 into the second array list2 is not as easy as simply writing list2 is equal to list1. This is wrong. This won't work. This will do something else. It will do something. It won't give you an error, but it will not do. It won't copy the contents of one array into another. Instead, what will happen is this. So let's say before you have list1, one array, you have list2 as the second array. If you write this, when you execute this statement, when your code executes the statement, list2 is equal to list1, what will actually happen is this. The list2 reference, instead of pointing to the second array over here, it will start pointing to the same location in memory that contains the contents of list 1. So basically you'll have two names or two references to the same array, and the contents, the original contents, the previous contents, or the previous array that list 2 was pointing to before this statement over here executed, that will be lost. It will become garbage, and fortunately, since we're talking about Java, Java will deallocate that memory. It will do garbage collection, and it'll remove those contents will be lost for your program, for the purpose of using them in your program. So let me show you a practical example. Let's go to NetBeans, and so let's do this. Let's do this from scratch. Actually, I already worked out the exercise for you. Okay, so start from the beginning. So I'm going to be working with two arrays over here. Let me call the first one, let's make it simple integer array A, and let me just initialize it with some values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And let me create a second array. Let's call this one B, also an integer array. But let's keep this one. Let's let Java initialize this one, and ultimately I just want to copy the contents of array A into array B. So I'm not going to hard code the size of array B. Instead, I'm just using the a.length property that we used in last class, and I'm just going to make the size of B equal to the size of, or the length of, array A. Okay. And we'll be using a lot of loops in here, so instead of redefining an integer variable in every loop, I'm just going to uh, declare one integer variable up here, and we're just going to keep using this. Okay, so let's begin by simply first printing out the contents of um, array A and array B before we do anything. Okay, so system.out print. Let's begin with A. Okay, and I should have a loop for that. And I checked last class, a lot of you are still uh, weirdly indenting your code. Now, if code might compile, actually will compile correctly, but I saw a lot of code that looked very ugly. Try to follow um, more standard coding guidelines. So this will also going to put a space between different numbers that I'm printing out over here, and maybe at the end make sure we have a line break. So I'm going to put a new line character there, because after I print out array A, I also want to print out the contents of array B. So now we'll have A and B on separate lines, and if you run this, you see, there you go. First one is array A, second one is array B, and let me actually do something else here. Let's print this out slightly more neatly. Let's label these arrays that we're printing out. So let's call the first one A. And second one. There you go. And I even put some square brackets before and after. Run this. So now you clearly know what you're looking at. So initially, of course, I initialized array A with the 6 values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. I did not specify anything for B, which means Java initialized all elements of that integer array by default to 0. This is as expected. So this is the before, and we'll be doing some operations in the middle, and after that we want to see what the contents of A and B are again. So we will want to print out A and B again. So in between the two, we'll be doing some stuff. We'll be trying some stuff. So Over here, let's first try the first thing. So let what we're trying to do over here is operations to copy, to put that into double quotes because it's not really what we're doing over here, but operations to copy array A into array B. So this is kind of the naive way. We kind of already know what's going to happen. We're just going to assign, say, B, execute the statement B is equal to A. I run this. This is the before, first two lines. So B still contained all the zeros to which it was initialized by Java. And after this operation executes, we print out arrays A and B again. And it looks like, indeed, array A has been copied into array B. Now to check, or actually to prove that that is actually not the case, what I'll do now is I'll assign a new value to the first element of array A. I'll write 1000 into it. If I print out array A and B again, and I'll just copy paste this again, so I'm basically, what I'm doing over here is I'm modifying array A, first element of array A, I'm modifying it. Then I'm printing out both arrays again. Now if A and B were still different arrays, A should of course contain the number 1000 in the first element, but B should be untouched. It should still contain 10, 20, 30, but as you can see, that is not happening. And the reason for that is because B is just a reference pointing to the same place, same array in memory as the reference A. Now, this means we have a bit of a problem. So, how do we actually copy one array into another? It's the tedious way, of course, and let me show you that one first. So instead of saying B is equal to A, just like that, let's put in a loop. And inside this loop, I'm assigning each element of A to its corresponding element location in B. And after that, I'm printing out what I have, what I see in arrays A and B. I'm then I'm even modifying array A, and I'm printing everything out a third time. So let's see what happens when I run this. So let me add some labels over here because we're printing out these arrays a lot of time, a good number, 3 times now. So we know what we're looking at over here. Okay, so I'm now copying each element of A inside a loop into each corresponding element of B, printing both arrays out. Then I'm modifying the first element of array A and printing out both arrays again. So think about for a minute, and pause this video if you have to, and think about what we should be expecting, what we should expect to see now. To run this, and there you go. Oh, it's not very neat. Put in some new line characters over here. Run this again very quickly, and there you go. Okay, so initially, A 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, B initialized to 0. Then we copy array A to array B inside of that loop. And as you can see, after that, A and B kind of match. And then we modify the first element of A. And as you can see, the first element of A becomes 1000, but first element of B remains unchanged. That is because A and B are referring to two different arrays in memory right now. We did not execute that statement, B is equal to A. Instead, we're copying each element from A into each corresponding element of B. Now, this may seem a little tedious, time consuming in a sense. So if you want to copy an array into another array, this is something, it's kind of a very basic operation. So if you don't want to write a loop every time, there's another way, something that the Java API provides. There's a utility called array copy. As you can see, the autocomplete is already giving you stuff here. So I want to copy, let's say, A from its first location into array B's first location, and I can even specify how many elements I want to copy. Let's say I want to copy all elements of A from one into the other, and use this Java provided method, array copy. See if that works as well as the one that I already used, and there you go. Look, initial. Now this time I'm copying using this array copy method. As you can see, B now contains all the same values, and even after modifying A and B are two different arrays. So this is another way of going about it. And if you want to see what these extra parameters do, so basically look it up. This is in the slides, by the way. Let's say I only want to copy the first 3 elements from A into B, and just provide the last argument as 3. Run this. There you go. This just copied the first 3 elements from A into B. The last 3 are still the same as they were when the array was initialized, all zeros. Okay, so you can play around with that. It's perhaps a more convenient way of doing things. Okay. So before next class, make sure you're up to date on all the uploaded materials. Here's one particular slide that I want you to pay special attention to. This one. Make sure what's going on over here. Okay. You will actually do this in class on Sunday. Okay. So I'll see you in class then. Have a good weekend.